Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the podcast for high performers who've gone all in, but still feeling a little stuck. I'm your host, Rob Tracz, coach, speaker, and creator of the Prime Performance Process. If you're a solopreneur, small business owner, or just launched your side hustle and you're tired of grinding with no momentum, this is for you. Every week, we bring you guests that have broke the code, generated momentum, and finally got unstuck. And we're diving into their stories, their struggles, and their secrets to generating massive momentum in both their personal and professional lives. We don't do fluff here. We do frameworks, real talk, and share the kind of insights that get you unstuck for good. Welcome, and let's get rolling. But before we dive in, I gotta remind you, if you're overwhelmed, spinning your wheels, or just tired of hustling without the results, it's time for a Prime Performance Strategy session. In this free call, we'll zoom out on your life and business, identify the real reason you're feeling stuck, and build a game plan to help you reclaim your confidence, energy, and gain some clarity so you can get back to doing what you set out to do. Lead, grow, and thrive. This isn't surface level coaching. It's a system built on resilience, intentionality, clarity, and alignment. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to grab your spot today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Let's get going and help you look good, feel good, and do great things. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. I'm super excited because today I'm welcoming on Gary Chupik. Gary is a mental performance coach in the field of sports psychology with nearly 30 years of experience speaking on stage in various different roles. He's an entrepreneurial-minded individual who focuses on topics like mindset, mental performance, and leadership. Recently, Gary spoke as a VIP speaker at a construction owners conference. Though he doesn't consider himself an expert, Gary has a wealth of real-world experience navigating the challenges of entrepreneurship and leadership. I'm looking forward to diving into Gary's insights on developing powerful mindset, overcoming obstacles, and applying sports psychology principles to everyday business and life. Gary, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm excited to kind of dive in and kind of hear about like what your journey's been like to get to where you are today. Because I know you got a lot of things coming up soon, and I know you're a busy dude. So I'm really excited to kind of hear, how'd you get to where you're at?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've been a reluctant leader most of my life, like ever since I was 13. So yeah, I've never really craved the stage or the limelight. I just felt like if I just do me really well, and then opportunity will find me. So that's kind of been one of my mottos in life. And over time, I just found myself in lots of leadership positions that, again, I wasn't really craving them, but I think people saw the potential in me. And then I just embraced it. And then when I was younger, I really sort of had a cognition that I should just be a sponge. I should just learn everything I possibly can in my teen and in my early 20s and beyond, of course, but really pronounced during that time. So I just kind of said yes to everything. Like whatever life was going to hand me, I was just going to say yes to it. And maybe it's a little bit like rolling the dice, but that's okay. And so I kind of feel like many of us, we don't get to choose the classrooms that we're in. We might have a sense of what degree we want to get, but we don't always get to choose our classrooms and how we get the degree. And so I just kind of feel like I've gone through a lot in my life to get the degree that I have. And one of those was being a pastor for 28 years. And I had a burnout in 2017. And I thought it was a good time to have a midlife crisis. And so I was like, well, what do I do with my life? Do I buy a Camaro, or do I just kind of hit the reset button in my life? Like, what do I do? And so instead of buying a Camaro or a Mustang, I decided to really just kind of rethink my life a little bit. And it actually came from sort of a business faux pas in a way, where I was offered a job and then I took the job and then they reneged on the job. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I just quit my last job to do this one. So for the first time in forever, like 40 years, I didn't have a job. Like I've had a job my entire life. Ever since I was 7 years old, I was delivering newspapers. So at that point, I was like, well, maybe it's a good time to think about what I want. And so that's what I did in 2017. And through various, what I would call divine appointments, I ended up meeting Russell Wilson's mental performance coach. And we just kind of hit it off, and he mentored me for a year. And then he hired me somewhere along the way, probably actually just a month or two in to mentoring. He hired me, and I worked for Limitless Mind. Didn't do a ton of work for them, but yeah, that was just a really great experience with Trevor. And at that time, he was like top of the mountain, peak of success. He was on ESPN working with all these famous teams, and it was really great to have his affirmation. Like, just when you think might not be able to do something, or you can't do something, or you have imposter syndrome, when someone of that caliber says, I think you have what it takes, it's like, really? Like, you really think that? So maybe that affirmation or that permission was really helpful to me. And then in 2019, I dove in and just started to develop my own business. So of course I have a bad habit of starting businesses at the worst time. COVID was just around the corner, and I was like, what is going on? I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how to get business, but I just went through that learning curve. And so, yeah, like the hardest times in life have taught me a lot. So here I am doing mental performance and leadership stuff, and kind of tapping into this idea of coaching. And I kind of feel like a lot of my life was not, even from the platform, hasn't been telling people what to think. It's always been asking good questions. So here I am 5 or 6 years later, just feel like I'm getting my feet wet still. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I just kind of feel like I'm learning still a lot of things.
Yeah, and I think actually that's like the perfect time to get rolling with the business, because I feel like a lot of people were like doing the same thing where they're all of a sudden the world kind of stopped, and they give it a good opportunity for people to try new things, and you just got a little bit of a head start on everybody, and it sounds like it's paying off, and you're getting the ball rolling now. So I'm excited to kind of continue on with here and with what you've got going. I know you've got some projects and things coming up now, but I want to dive in a little bit into, like, what is it like actually working with you now that you've kind of got the business kind of squared up and you're rolling things, you've got the momentum on your side. What's it like when people come to you and they're like, "Hey, I want to work with Gary." What's it?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, a lot of us who do coaching, like yourself, and consulting, you're always trying to assess what the need is. And sometimes a client might say they want something, but actually they need something different. And so you end up trying to say, I think what you're saying is you might want this. And so, yeah, there's definitely that assessment that goes on. But I think if I were to kind of say it succinctly, I would say three things. Number one is I have a playbook for the mind. So like a 12 session, mental performance coaching process. And I think it produces great results. And so there's that. So I call it a playbook for the mind. And then I have a game plan for life, which is how to live a high performance lifestyle. So how to take sort of that high achiever, that professional athlete sort of mentality, like what it took for you to be good at what you do. What if we could translate that into your real life? Because I think a lot of the days of, I won't name any names, but a lot of the famous athletes who, are good at one thing, maybe they're even elite at one thing, but they're a train wreck in the other areas of their life. So I was like, why can't we have whole life excellence? Why can't we pursue that? And so I have a playbook for the mind, a game plan for life, which is a 2-day experience. And then I have something called a 1-day elevate, which is me going into a business or corporate setting and just teaching businesses how to think like professional athletes and apply it to their business.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Pretty sweet stuff. So the playbook is what you kind of teach individuals on like a 12-week or a 12 session kind of program. And then your game plan is bigger picture. So like the first part for the mindset is like, okay, how do you kind of check the bells and balances and realign yourself? And then the game plans for more of the holistic lifestyle stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and sometimes you're doing crisis intervention, right? Like let's say, for example, the playbook for the mind, you're doing crisis intervention. Sometimes, like, let's say there's an athlete that's really struggling. So sometimes, a pro or college football coach will give me a call, or someone from their staff, and say, we have a player that's really struggling in a particular area. Essentially, they're saying, can you fix them? Well, I don't know if I can fix anything, but I can make an assessment about what I think the issue is and recommend a couple remedies. So I can do that. But it's more fun oftentimes to work with someone who's already really good at what they do and want to get even better. Because something that Pete Carroll told me one time was, Gary, the best always want to get better, and the best always want to coach. And I'm just like, is that really true? But then Trevor Moawad, Russell Wilson's mental performance coach, said that he literally said that I talked to Russell Wilson 365 days a year, which blew my mind. I was like, is it 12 times? Is it like once a month? Is it twice a month? Is it once a week? It was 365 days a year that they checked in with each other. And there's a guy in Russ Wilson who just always wanted to be at his best, like just hungry for anything that would give him, sort of an edge to his game. And so I think in the same way, you don't have to be sick to want to get better. Like you can get better all the time. And so it's one of the misnomers I think about being a mental performance coach is that people feel like, well, I'm fine. Like there's nothing wrong with me. That's not it at all. Like what it is that I want to get better at what I do. I did something or created something called the mental health bridge assessment. And basically it's just a diagram and it has 4 pillars. And on the far left, it has the crisis pillar. So a lot of people are on that crisis pillar. And there's a bridge to the next pillar, which is coping. So that's the coping pillar. And so what I think most mental health does is it just focuses on those 2 pillars. So how do we get out of crisis so that you can cope with your life? And so they'll offer, some type of strategies like mindfulness and so on and so forth to help you, cope with life. But I just think that is like, it's shortchanging the potential for all the people in our society or in our schools or on our teams where we're just stopping at coping mechanisms, but we're not teaching them the next pillar is how to thrive. And the final pillar is how to live a transcendent sort of life. Like I know what my life's purpose, calling, vision, strategy, personal philosophy, assignments, like you just got it all dialed in for whole life excellence. So yeah, I think it depends on where people are on that bridge assessment, I think is kind of how people engage with me and how I engage with them. So I'll try to figure out, are they in crisis? Are they coping? Are they trying to thrive? And are they transcendent? And there's a bridge between each of those pillars, and there's certain things that have to be accomplished before you go from pillar to pillar.
Yeah. So when you're talking about how some of the more exciting people to work with are those who are kind of striving for excellence and pushing and looking to kind of evolve it reminds me of a couple of athletes that I used to work with back in strength and conditioning, and they were always super excited, asking a lot of questions because they really cared about understanding the why behind it, and that was always really fun for me to work with because one, I'm working with an individual who's pushing. 2, I get to teach a little bit while I'm out there working with somebody. And then 3, it shows that they really do care. And it's funny too, because they'd always like apologize, like, hey, I'm so sorry for asking all these questions, but like, why, what are we doing this versus that? And I'd be like, no, this is awesome. I love this. This is exciting. I want more people like you because what really motivates me to keep showing up. So I can totally see what you're saying about that.
Yeah. Agreed. And what's and if you are into the fitness world, which I know that you are, it's like to go from like, let's say you're benching or something like that, or squatting, like to go on a bench press from 50 pounds to 100 pounds, you can do it fairly quickly, right? You can do that. But to go from, let's say, 90% of your max to max, that takes a while to do that. Like it's hard work to do those final 10 or 20%. And I think in a lot of ways, but that's where the fruit is for a lot of athletes, like playing instinctually and like trusting your plan, trusting your training, trusting your position, what position you're in, like trusting your instincts. Like if you can get to that place where you're trusting yourself and you're trusting your instincts, it's a pretty special place to be for an athlete.
Yeah, yeah. And going back to that bridge assessment that you were talking about, I totally agree with you too. I feel like today's society, I guess, just treats those first 2 principles that you're talking about, the crisis and then the coping one. And I think we do that because there are so few people really pushing for that excellence, right? Like, I feel like, hey, let's just get everyone to where they feel comfortable and where they're just kind of willy nilly. And then, like, what is the saying? It's like the cream of the crop or rises to the top or something like that. Or I don't, but so like then the rest of those who are really pushing really seek out experts like you that can really help elevate them to the next level.
Yeah, and it's like it's the best job in the world. Like in some ways, being in the ministry for 20 years, in some ways, not all of them, but in some of the ways, feels like the worst job in the world because people expect you to be able to, have control over things or have authority or leadership or your ability to change things. When in reality, you're giving people access to you and your heart constantly, and so they bring their challenges and problems, and you live a lot, in crisis because your constituents do or Congress. And but what I do now is like, now I get to work with people who are highly motivated and want to figure out how to spend, how to spend their life. Like, for example, there was one lady out of Calgary, Alberta, who husband died in his sleep. They owned a business and he died in his sleep at around 60 years old. And his
Jeez.
wife turned over and there he was. He had passed away and she was 60 years old. And then she looked me up and she said, Gary, I want to do a game plan for life because I want to know how to maximize my last 10 years. Like, I feel like I got 10 years in me that I want to just maximize. And so what do I do? And so it was like stuff like that, is just so cool. And then to see her living that out is just, it's hard to describe the fulfillment that I feel in my life right now because I get to, know people really well and get to unlock and unleash them on the world.
Yo, what's up? Sorry for interrupting. It's me, Rob. If you've been listening and thinking, man, I just know I'm capable of so much more, but something's just really not clicking, well, I've got something for you. It's called the Prime Performance Personality Quiz. And in just a few minutes, you'll uncover what's actually slowing you down. So whether it's a mindset block, energy drain, or a lack of clarity, this quiz is going to give you specific insights to help you build momentum again. Again, this quiz is free, fast, and honestly, freakishly accurate. So take it now over at survivingthesidehustle.com/quiz and stop spinning, start winning today. No, that's awesome. Very, very inspiring stuff. And I can see that it's really fulfilling you up too, working with a lot of great individuals. But I wanted to ask you, what are, like, when you do have somebody who's coming to you and they are motivated and they're looking to get better, but they're still struggling to get through, what are some of those like challenges or obstacles, I guess, you see individuals when they're trying to get better and they're in like the early stages and they're trying to get to that excellence?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, it's like you and I are both students of people, right? Like, we're just always learning and always growing. And I'd love to ask you the same question because I'd really be interested in hearing what you have to say. But oftentimes people are stuck, and being stuck is a really interesting place because I've been stuck many times. In fact, I'm probably stuck in some areas right now. Like I have those areas that I just feel like I don't know what to do. But typically it's because they want two things. It's like they're stuck in between A and B, and they don't want to sacrifice too much on one side to get to the other side. When in reality, it's impossible not to. In other words, Thomas Sowell, the great historian and economist, he said that everything in life is a trade off. There is nothing that isn't a trade off. You're always trading something for something else. And that is just so freeing to me for some reason. I'm just like, oh, yeah, I mean, I'm going to trade this for that. And am I willing to make that trade? Is there enough value there for me? And so I feel like when people come to me and they feel pretty stuck, it's like, oh, they're probably in the in between and it's really costing them something. Like, there's a high cost to hesitating. There's a high cost to not making a decision. And there's opportunity lost there as well. I was told one time where I read a book about a guy who went to Africa and between two countries, and I don't remember the name of them, but between two countries, there was this middle border and it was about 100-yard space. Maybe it was 50 yards. I think it was 50 yards, 50-yard space between the two countries. And there was like a 30-foot chain link barbed wired fence in between the two countries. And people lived inside of the fence because it was safer there because the two countries were at war with one another, but it was safer there. And who's to say whether, like, I don't know where I would pick to choose one country, the other, or stay in the middle. I can't really say. But he went on to talk about the space in between making a decision on being, one place or the other. So the in between space, you really do feel caged and you really are stuck. And sometimes we choose to, pick the safe thing rather than the thing that costs a little bit or that might be risky, but it might actually be our freedom.
Man, I love that. You beautifully said, and I feel strongly about that too. I remember when I was younger and I used to always just be like, nah, I don't care, whatever. What do you want to have for dinner? Oh, I don't care. Just get me whatever. Pizza, I don't care. Blah, 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 blah. And then I thought I was doing whoever friend's house I was at or whatever I was doing wherever I was. I thought I was doing them a favor by just letting them choose. And then it would always go back and forth. And we eventually end up ordering something that neither of us really cared about because we waited too long. And I remember at a young age, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to get good at making decisions. I'm going to start making a decision and then owning it if it's the wrong decision. But then that's how I'm going to learn to make better decisions faster. And I love exactly what you were saying before. That leads right to that.
That is so good. I mean, I've had the privilege of counseling hundreds, if not thousands, of couples. And one of the things that I noticed in late teens and almost all throughout the 20s, and it's almost always with young men, is they have this phobia of making decisions. And so when you're in your teens and your early 20s, it's kind of cool, right? Like, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Hey, man, I'm just chill, and you don't exercise this decision making muscle. And as you get older, you realize, man, that doesn't work for me because when I don't speak up, I end up doing something that I don't want to do, which happened to me all the time. And I'm a people pleaser too. So it was especially bad for me. And it wasn't until my early 40s, believe it or not, my early 40s, I did this test and this personality test, and it said that my people pleasing side or my agreeableness was so high that I didn't really know who I was. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And so the remedy is to start making a bunch of decisions that might upset the people around you, but they're your decisions. So I just decided for the next 12 months to be an ass. Like that's really true. Like I was just like, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. And then you let the chips fall where they may and see if they stay your friends or if you figure out who your friends are. And that was a really fascinating experiment, which a year later, I took the same test and I said I was truly an ass. Like I did this 180 reversal and it felt so good. But I had to learn that. I had to learn how to exercise that muscle, that decision making muscle that you're talking about. And it was really one of the most freeing things I've done. Now in my life, what I'm trying to do is remove hesitation. And it's a lot of what I do with my clients because back to your original question is a lot of my athletes and people that I work with, they hesitate. And hesitation in sports is unbelievably costly. And so, how do you remove hesitation from a decision that you have to make, or making a move, or playing instinctually? And there is no other way other than to trust yourself, like trust your plan, trust your training, trust your instincts. And so, you got to go. You just got to go. And if you're wrong, then you're wrong. But you can course correct along the way. That's the good news.
And so, how do you build trust?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to do it than to engage with the thing that you fear, face it head on. And I really say it in two different steps. Number one is that your preparation is crucial. Like if you're gonna like remove the hesitation, you have to build confidence. And there's only two ways to build confidence. There is only two ways. People talk about, sort of like I call it like a faux advice, from society or whatever. And everyone talks about how to, but to me, as a like, and you might be able to relate to this. It's like in the professional sports world, there's only two ways. Number one is to prepare. So if you go and if you're going to play a game, you have to prepare. Because if you don't prepare, why would you feel confident if you haven't prepared? You're going to give a speech. And I know you do a lot of public speaking. Imagine going on a stage where you didn't prepare anything. You might be able to pull it off a couple times because you're a smart guy, but like long term in the right space, now you can't just wing it. And so number one is preparation. So you can feel more confident when you're prepared. And number two is what I call prove it. You really have to prove things to yourself. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to prove it to anybody else, but you do need to prove it to yourself because you got to lay your head down on your pillow at night and convince yourself that you can do something. So when you start proving things to yourself, and then you can be confident. And it's sort of like it leans into like a third part of this, which is yes, you can be confident. Yes, you can prepare, and yes, you can prove it to yourself. But what we're really trying to do is an optimistic person. And notice I didn't say positive. I said optimistic. So positivity to me is like, I don't know, it's like dirty fuel. It's like it works for a while, but then it doesn't work. And so you get toxic positivity, or you have positivity that you have to lie to yourself that you can do something when you actually can't. But you're being positive, but you really can't do it. You haven't put in the time, effort, you haven't prepared. So the positivity can be helpful in the short term, but in reality, what we want to do is produce optimistic people and optimistic high achievers and optimistic athletes. And why? Well, because optimism always requires a reason for you to be optimistic. So if you were saying, Gary, I'm going to jump out of a plane, I'm going to be like, well, what gives you sort of a reason to believe that you can do this? Like, what is it? And if you say, well, I have no reason to be optimistic, I haven't given myself that, I'm like, you should probably not jump out of that plane. But if you've taken classes and you've prepared and you've done everything you can, then yeah, you can feel optimistic that you can do something. And so what we want to do is build optimistic people, not just positive people.
Wow, I love that. I love that distinction too. That was really, really well said. That's powerful stuff there. And I like that you're pointing towards the preparation and the building the confidence and the preparation and experience going through things really creates the competence so that you can actually do that. And then I believe that same way is like the more that you do it, the more experience you get under your belt, the more confidence that you build, the more confidence you have, the more competence comes along with that. And then you can continue to create and move forward. And I think the only going back to what you were saying, where I might be able to kind of wing it on stage because smart guy and stuff. I don't think it's because of smart guy. I think it's because of the experience. So in a way, I already am a little bit prepared. But like if you were to ask me to go out and speak on like brain surgery, there's no way I'd be able to pull that off because I have no experience or background on that at all. But if you were to go out and ask me to talk about gym or how to connect with more people or how to network a little bit better or et cetera, I might be able to kind of wing it a little bit. But yeah, I love exactly what you were saying there.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. Like people talk about instincts. Like instinctually, you can go up and probably speak about 10 or 15 different subjects with a high degree of expertise. But it is kind of interesting where your instincts really aren't just a feeling or a gut feeling. Your instincts come from this wealth of experience and the wealth of opportunities that you've taken, and it's like people you've met, and experiences you. So it's not just like a gut feeling. It's like, no, you can trust your instincts on a lot of the stuff and probably do quite well.
Yeah, and actually, I do this like kind of improv drill with a couple different groups in different workshops that I facilitate. That is pretty fun. Where we do put you in front of everybody, and you do have to go explain something that you don't really know anything at all, but you have to like try, and you have to like try to piece things together, and it's really meant to just kind of push that comfort zone and see if you can kind of piece a little bit together on the
Wow, I
fly.
love that. I'm sure that would be like a hilarious and really fruitful exercise. That would be awesome. Yeah, because I think, like for example, if I went up on stage and I didn't know what I was talking about, I didn't know the topic very well. I have this system in my head that I've used over the course of many years. And what was weird is I thought everyone could see my system, but nobody saw it, which is weird, But I was like, this must be so obvious to everybody. But I always started a lot of my talks with this system. Like goes me, we, topic, you, us. Right. So the me is me telling a story about something. The we is connect anybody else relate. Can we relate to this story, or is there something in the story that you can relate to? And then the topic is you might have your one, two, or three, or how many ever points, and then you finish with you, like you're like, what are you going to do with this information? It could be life changing for you. And then us is, what if we all did this? And I just found that to be such an easy way to trust myself with something, even though I might not know it super well. But so much of this is like surrendering to the way that you've been wired and trusting yourself that you can pull it off. So there are lots of times where I did get up and I did have to wing it. But if you've done it enough times and you sort of have a system or a process that you've picked out, then that can help you be confident.
Yeah, I love that. That's some awesome stuff. But I do want to be curious of your time. I know you've got a lot of things going on. Before we started recording, you were talking about some other events and things of that sort. So I'm interested to hear, what are you most excited about for the rest of this year?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's funny, like, I don't know about you, but for me anyway, usually the summers are pretty slow. And then, late August, things start to pick up because everyone's planning for the fall. So, what I'm really excited about are global opportunities. So, obviously, I speak here in America and in Canada, but in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten international invitations to come, and so I'm excited about having a global impact and sharing my material because I think that the material that I have, I think it's really really good. I think the material is fan. In fact, I think the material is world class. Like I've never seen anything like a game plan for life like I do it. And that sounds arrogant, but I don't mean it to be. But it's that good. But I think the content is outstanding. I'm not sure I'm outstanding, but I know the content is really good. And I have to work on my delivery constantly and that kind of thing. So I'm really interested and excited about sharing the content internationally. And I have a website that has 250 million clicks a year who wants in 48 different languages who wants to use my game plan for life. And so they want me to put it in digital form so they can distribute it throughout the world. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, just having a global impact is what I'm really interested in.
That's pretty awesome. That's crazy numbers too. You said 250 million. Wow. That is wild. So if someone's listening to this and they're like, yeah, I love this. I really want to check out this playbook and even more so, I want to get the game plan or I just want to hang out and talk to Gary. Like, how do people get in touch with you and are you taking on new clients?
Yeah, I'm always taking on new clients. I'm kind of on a probably just like you. It's like a first come, first serve kind of basis. But if people want to find out more about me, they can go to Instagram, and I'm Elite Mindset with the blue verification dot, and that's because where most of my clients are. I think they're also on LinkedIn, but if people can just Google my name, and my website is Elite Mindset Nation because I want to create a nation of high performers who are servant leaders, risk takers, entrepreneurial, just really mentally tough people who want to make a difference in the world and who want whole life excellence. So yeah, so I appreciate you asking the question. I know people can call you, like you're far better at so many more things than I am, but yeah, if people want to find out more, they can go there.
Awesome. Yeah, there you go, guys. Make sure you follow him on Instagram, connect with him on LinkedIn, and then make sure you go over and check out his website at the Mindset Nation.
Just Elite Mindset Nation.
Okay, just elitemindsetnation.com. All right, Gary, man, I appreciate this. Thank you so much for coming on today. I know you're super busy with a lot of things going on, projects and people, and great work that you're doing out there. It means a lot to me that you're taking the time to kind of share a little bit about your experiences and a lot of your insights too. Like I'm stealing that thing too, the framework,
Me, we, you, me, we, topic, us.
yeah, so I love that too. I'm going to be listening back and taking notes as well on this episode. So, Gary, seriously appreciate it so much. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
All right, guys. Hopefully, you guys grabbed as much value as I did, and we will check in again next time. And that's it for this episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found this valuable, the best way to support the show is to rate and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps get the show in front of more driven individuals just like you, and helps them discover the tools to get unstuck, break through burnout, and build something real. And you can always connect deeper with me, our guests, or grab free resources at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. Whether it's a strategy call, the Prime Performance Personality Quiz, some of our products, or just to check out our free content library. Connect with us over at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. And hey, remember this, you weren't meant to just grind. You were built to grow. So stay conscious, stay committed, and keep showing up. Peace, guys.